This is Things You Might Have Heard from the Conversation Project. I am Jay Cleveland Payne. Of course, the Conversation Project is your home for headline news, information, and pop culture references that are worth chatting about. And you help us pick the stories to chat about every single weekday morning. I am here to provide you some news on Donald Trump because he's done a lot of things and he's adjacent to a lot of things, and they're all mostly the same thing. The DC takeover. We're not talking about the summit yet because it hasn't happened. We'll give you details of that on the weekend. But right now, it's mostly the DC stuff that we're focusing on. Plus, some Gavin Newsom, who is dealing with the Texas stuff, and Priscilla Presley, who is dealing with life stuff, and 5 other stories adjacent to things happening that are conversational, things that you deemed as worthy of chatting up. Now, to help you out with us, we want you to stop our website. This is conversationproject.com and find all the details and the things you can help us out with. You can find links to our feed so you can help and determine some of these stories. You can find links to our sponsors and partners to help us keep us going, and find some of the reasons, the origin story stuff, and why we are having this discussion right now, live at 5:30 in the morning on Central Time on the 15th of August, 2025, and get into the deal. Now, we will talk about some things, and some things are updates from the past couple days, because it's been a crazy week in DC. A lot of DC stuff happening right now. So let's get into those stories, those headlines. If you think we don't have the right ones, email me at the conversation inbox, gmail.com, and tell me which stories I should not have covered more of, or I should have covered more of, despite missing them. We only have spots for 8 today, so that's where we're going to go with this one. So let's roll into them stories as they are written by the AI chatbot. So we got a lot of DC Trump stuff coming up, and it's basically all DC Trump stuff coming up. But let's start with Trump in general, as numbers don't lie. Scoreboard tells you what wins, and if you don't like it, you probably should have hit more free throws or made more first downs or took more advantage of time with the other team in the penalty box when you had it. Pew Research Center survey is conducting from the 4th to the 10th of August, or conducted on the 4th to 10th of August. They have the Trump's approval rating at 38%. With 6% expressing disapproval. This is down from 41% 2 months ago. So 41 to 38% is not a lot, but 38% of approval is a lot of bad. Perceptions of his character are weakening. 37% are now believing he cares about the needs of ordinary people, which is a drop from earlier this term. The decline is mostly pronounced among younger voters. Trump retention among 2024 voters under 35 has slumped from 69 down to 95% of the term start. People in the youth vote wanted something changey. This is not the changey we got with Obama, definitely. The survey also highlights rising disapproval of his policies in general. 61 are opposed to tariffs. 46 disapprove of the one big beautiful bill. It is something that is there. Trump's going to say the numbers are fudge, the numbers are lies, the numbers aren't what the truth is. He won the election by landslides and has a mandate to do the stuff he says he's going to do, and he's doing as much of that stuff as he can when he stays on point, on message, and isn't distracted by the war he didn't end in one day. However, Trump is Trump, and we'll let him play this out exactly the way he wants to play it out. Next 3 stories, all DC all the time. Let's start off with the mayor of DC and the attorney general for the city, who are pushing back on Pam Bondi's emergency police appointment. The attorney general of the U.S., Pam Bondi, named DEI chief Terry Cole as DC's emergency police commissioner and granted him authority over all local police. He is now the lord and master of all police officers in DC. Of course, the mayor, Bowser, and the attorney general, Brian Schwab, don't like that one and denounced the order pretty quickly, just like right off the bat saying no. They vowed noncompliance of essential local control over police. Now, what that means is they're still cooperating, and Bowser has basically been cooperative in her language and tone the whole time. This is a step too far. Bondi also rescinded sanctuary policies that limited some cooperation directives that the local police were already doing, or not doing, should say, aiming to reassert federal policies over the authority that is there. The legal counteractivity is basically leaning on DC's home rule framework and the absence of statutory grounds for ceding authority to federal officials. Essentially, this should not be happening, or it should not be happening unless it's a extreme circumstance. Circumstance isn't so extreme, other than the fact that one guy that Trump liked got mugged and he saw homeless people and wanted them out the streets. And we'll get to that literally next. But this is a deal where Bondi is, as the mayor is saying, overreaching. Bondi's saying no. This fight will continue in courts to make sure that someone wins, and it will probably be Trump in the end. So President Trump declared a public safety emergency in D.C., and he sent in 800 National Guards and other federal agencies to help work out the things. And one of the major things that they're working out is clearing homeless camps. There is some crime to be handled, but homeless camps is one of the main objectives of the federal troops. The effort is called Making D.C. Safe and Beautiful Task Force. That's what it's called. It also involves curfews for citizens, ICE checkpoints because illegal aliens, and efforts to push homeless individuals into shelters or face arrest. Now, one issue with that is there's only so many shelters to push them to, so where do they go if they're not there? City leaders are pushing back against the larger initiative, especially with the homeless folks, calling takeover unlawful, and many residents are protesting what they call federal overreach. The flip side, many residents, because you have to make this a story worth watching, are saying, we want more National Guard, we want more people patrolling the streets, we want this thing done. Many people, and some of the folks that you not expect to be supporting this, some folks that are a bit more, are saying, the numbers may be down in the surveys. That may be what's going on in Georgetown, and maybe what's going on down in around the monuments. But here in my neighborhood, we still see these things. So there is some dispute. What you live and what you hear, I'm not there, so I don't live it. I can't really be attesting to how it goes. But your mileage may vary definitely with what's happening with this particular action and what's happening going forward. Now, the biggest thing I have to contend with is you want to push homeless people out of the way. That is finding a place for them to go is great. But other than saying go away, that doesn't work out so great. A man named Sean Charles Dunn was identified as the man who threw a sub-style sandwich, that's what the police report says, at a Customs and Border Protection officer standing outside of a sandwich shop. He was charged with a felony assault. He also was an employee of the Department of Justice. So Pam Bondi officially confirmed the firing of some low-level guy who wanted to throw a sandwich to get a bit of fame. Called the behavior emblematic of the deep state opposition and claims it affects DOJ reforms. Basically, there are people inside of DOJ who are keeping them from doing what they want to do, the Trump agenda. And here's a case of one guy in the deep state who was just too dumb to keep himself out of the way. Now, the incident itself is protest, humor, and a viral video giving him some fame. And in fact, the video of this one, me talking about this one, is one of my most engaged videos on TikTok. It is by leaps and bounds with views and comments, and they are hilarious. But they also are, let's just say, idiotic, because the guy works for DOJ. The guy knew he was going to get these things found out when they found him and they arrested him and booked him, although I guess he thought he was going to just get away from it. And now he is no longer just a hero meme, but an idiot as well. The phrase "caught hurling a sandwich" on the police report is, rich. It's ingenious, but at the same time, it is a assault. It is a felony. It may be a soft sandwich because it's from Subway, but it's not exactly the way you want to show your kids how to act around the authority. Because if this guy was not a DOJ operative, if he was just basically some random kid on the street, this could have ended a whole lot worse. Taking a short break from the news stories. We promise you 4 down, 4 more to go. But we need your help to grow our situation here. We need you to like the stories you're seeing me talk about here, like the videos, share them with other like-minded viewers, and subscribe so you get these directly in your feeds. If you like what you're seeing, that means I'm producing good content, good things. The internet's not slowing and bubbling, and the stories and the commentary we're giving right here. I don't think I'm a both sides guy, and I'm not, but I try to present these things as from the fact level, what exactly happened. And now that we're doing these things on a more pithier, shorter level, there's a lot less commentary here, more in the hot takes. So there's there. But if you like this here, it provides the algorithms more chances to see what's going on, or more people a chance to see it because they think it's good to watch. If you share directly with people, they will see it directly, and hopefully they will join in on the fun. And if you are not seeing this directly in your feeds because you get it mostly from shares from folks or subscribe or likes from the shares from the algorithms, subscribe so you get this in your feed as this comes down live every single weekday morning, and our hot takes that come down on across YouTube and TikTok all across the day. So check us out when you can. We're not asking you for notifications. Just check us out when you get a chance to check us out. Like, share, and subscribe to grow the reach of the News Nerd Nation. The arms race that is electors in the House is basically now afoot, as Governor Newsom of California is unveiling the Election Rigging Response Act. Love how we call these things, these dumb things, which would override California's independent commission to adopt a partisan map only if Texas passes its own redistricting. So there is a catch. He would back off if Texas backs off. The problem is the Texas legislators who have abandoned the state so they would not have their vote for the redistricting have one of their conditions for coming back is to let California do its thing. So the backing off is the backing off because Texas won't get away with it, or Texas will get away with it. That means Newsom gets a chance to do his own thing as well. Apologies for that. Got to take care of the hydration break. So what Newsom is proposing for California is a November the 4th, 2025 special election. We have time to basically let this thing roll. It's going to reshape the districts through 2030, and it's going to do it now, and they'll do it again in 10 years with the census, but we'll do it 5 years early because Texas is doing it. Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger, the former governor, and anti-gerrymandering advocates from around the world who think it's just dumb whether you are a Democrat or Republican are warning Newsom that this risks undermining democratic norms and federalizing partisan gerrymandering. It means it becomes a norm, as I just said, and says if the federal government wants to do gerrymandering every time they feel like it, let them do it. The real problem is, national arms race, as I said, in redistricting and even revive Republican fortunes by reviving local backlash. If the locals are going to backlash to California, that's a little bad taste for Gavin Newsom. But if all the states decide, oh, we're just going to redistrict every 5 years, every 3 years, whenever we feel like it, whenever one side has extra power, that sort of is bad. That is not the way this is supposed to work, not the way things work in a level sense. Changing the game rules in the middle of the game or moving goalposts is not the way politics is supposed to work, or maybe it is. Maybe this is exactly how it's supposed to work. Your mileage may vary. A foreign minister in the UK who went fishing with J.D. Vance could actually face a fine. The foreign secretary, David Lammy, may be fined up to £2,500. That's the actual cost for fishing without a required rod license. And even though he took the trip on private land, hanging out with U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance at Shivering House, basically his house, Lammy self-reported, which is what all sportsmen should do, self-report, and since purchased the necessary license so that in the future he can fish. And this is one of those things that's sort of those sort of whimsical things that you would have missed because it doesn't seem like something. But this is a twofer. One, shows that J.D. Vance can get himself in trouble or get other people in trouble in other nations. And two, a good fishing story, an actual good fishing story that shows how good fishermen, how good wild people, how good huntsmen should do. Oddly enough, the self-reporting of doing something wrong is something that's really big for folks who do work the wildlands. It's important that people are fair and equitable in what goes on, and they self-police. That's something is really, really big for folks who love the outdoors, and for other folks, especially sandwich throwing people who just run away, should be bigger on as well. The story is a couple days old as far as we're concerned. We put it out there, in the yesterday window to talk about, but it's been out there for a couple days. We needed to fill some stuff because all the talk right now is about DC and Trump and the summit in Alaska with Trump that's happening in a few hours. But here's Priscilla Presley, who's being sued for a whole lot of money, over $50 million, for some power struggles with the family. Bridget Cruz and Kevin Flackey, who are former business partners, are filing a lawsuit accusing Priscilla of fraud, breach of contract, and exploiting her daughter's death to seize control of Lisa Marie's trust and the Grayson legacy. $50 million is what this crew is looking for. The suit alleges that Priscilla expedited withdrawal of life support for Lisa Marie to override her witness and consolidate power because she wished Priscilla or Lisa Marie wished to try to fight a little more in her actual wishes, but essentially Priscilla wanted to take control faster. Plaintiffs claim that she leveraged her celebrity to discredit them and break the original contract she had with the two business partners. Legal team for Priscilla Presley calls the complaint retaliatory and baseless, aggressive pushback and legal war over legacy and control. We shall see how this plays out, honestly, and it will be more entertaining than it should be because it should just go away, but it will play out in court. Speaking of playing out in court, let's go to Stacy Snyder from Love is Blind, season 5. She revealed on TikTok she received a payout from a class action settlement filed against the show's producers, and she called it effing good. She expressed mixed emotions, some surprise, some satisfaction, and some vindication, without actually talking about how much money she got, how much change went into her pocket after the class action suit happened. There's a broader trend of reality stars pushing back on exploitation and reclaiming their compensation from what's going on. We know reality stars don't get paid much because they're not actors. That's how they get away with stuff. And they do crazy things, have stupid hours, and are doing things for the clicks and for the views and for exposure. And in the meantime, ruining their lives as it goes back and forth. I'm not sure about Love is Blind. I did not see it. I have no idea what's going on. I'm pretty sure that this is actually Stacy Snyder. Hopefully, I took a couple of pictures. This one popped up most, so hopefully this is actually her. But Stacy Snyder is now a little bit richer because of a payout as they sued the producers of this season of the show. What it means for all of us and reality TV shows. It's still fake, still scripted, still manipulative. That doesn't change. And the housewives will still keep turning over tables and throwing champagne at each other because that's what we want, basically. Now, if you want to get a better perspective for the news out there, we have something for you as well. It's called Ground News, and Ground News provides you a great deals for news for under $1 a month, the Vantage plan under $10 a month, so you can get more detailed access to the news stories as they actually are, not just as you're getting from various sources, maybe biased, maybe siloed, maybe a little wacky out there. What you get at Ground News is access to essentially all the stories out there. They aggregate stories from local standpoints or for national standpoints or for the international world standpoint and give you headlines that are comparable to the headlines you're seeing. And you can compare them literally by seeing them side by side. And you see what headlines are a bit more salacious, what are a bit more tame, and what story articles are following along with the strict version of here's how the facts lie and what are going deeper into some perspective. And if you team that up with the blind spot feature, you can see what stories are being overly played by Republicans or Democrats, let's just basically say that liberals or conservatives, and what stories are being hidden away from one side because they think it makes the other side look better, what stories are being pushed more by one side because it makes them look better in the process. It's a great place to get your news or to get your news comparisons, and we have a great deal for you. As I said, 40% off their news plans, 3 different tiers. You can get news like this for less than $1 a month, or their Vantage plan for less than 10, and get the full stacking of details and go deeper into your discussions. Visit our website link at this. It's theconversationproject.com/ground news. This is theconversationproject.com/ground news, where you get that deal, and we get a small commission because this is an affiliate link. So check it out and get the details for the news stories today. It's a website that you can see right there in our image. It is a app on your phones, Android or Apple. It is the best way to really get deep and detailed into the news that's out there. It is called Ground News. And with that, we have landed the plane, if you will, for today's edition of Things You Might Have Heard. I am Jay Cleveland Payne. Thank you so much for joining us for this Friday, for this 15th of August in 2025. I love you guys. And I'll say that again when we wrap this thing up officially, but I love you guys and love what you've been saying about what we're doing. And I especially love the massive responses to some of the stories that we had this week. This week, we've had, it's been the TikToks that really flew, but we had a lot of discussion on the sandwich guy, because we should have, and a lot of discussion on I can't read because my glasses. Oh, the Viking cheerleader. That was a big thing where people are either on the fence for like, why is this an issue? Or people are on the fence saying this is an issue. I guess they're not on the fence. I guess they actually have actual opinions. And the video showing the parents at Uvalde who were basically going nuts as the many officers stood around and did very little as the attack went inside of the elementary school there. So we've had a lot of response there on TikTok. Not sure that we're viral enough to be anything of a threat at this point, but thank you for doing that. A lot of response on YouTube as well and inside the other feeds, but TikTok was blowing up on those specifically. Just one had a chance to relay that to those folks who stuck around this long. So with that, we're wrapping up for this Friday. We have a very busy weekend. We've not come up with a good way to recap the weekend other than do more hot takes, do more things that are there. We will have some sort of readout, some sort of short something, and some hot takes probably tomorrow and Sunday with some time to actually let the commentators sort of gloss it over so we can, steal their stuff on the summit in Alaska tonight. We do believe nothing will happen. We do believe that Trump downplaying as 25% chance of something happening is a chance that nothing will happen except for set up a second meeting. The where will be the biggest part about that one. But we do know that's a big deal for all of us, Ukraine and Russia specifically, but the world with the wars going on, and Donald Trump, who's aiming for that Nobel Peace Prize and saying he has broken up 6 or 7 wars. And this has been one of the hardest ones. I'm still waiting to figure out which 6 or 7 wars he's actually broken up right now. He has been some mediator in some conflicts, so that is true. 6 or 7, I think he is fudging his own numbers. In the meantime, as I said, love you guys so much. Visit our website, thisisconversationproject.com, for details on sponsors links and partnership links and how to help us out there. Find out more about our origin story, why we do and how we do, and of course, get some background and details and things you've missed at the website as well. Follow us on our feeds on Facebook and X. You can find those links at the website as well. Prep for a good weekend. Prep for a good day Friday. Prep for a good week next week. We expect a lot of crazy to happen here behind the scenes at Payne headquarters. So we'll talk more about that in the inside stuff. But in the meantime, have a great day.